So Laura, from the last time that we were together, there's been a whole bunch of questions that came in for us. Can you believe it?
No, I actually can't, but I'm great. I can't wait to hear them.
Our team has compiled up the top questions that people have asked. And the first one is from one of our viewers who says, what is the best way to take my moringa powder?
That's a great question. To be honest, I think the best way, and what I like to do, is I always start off my mornings with a smoothie or a shake. So I take a teaspoon, or if I'm feeling a little bit risky, maybe a tablespoon, and I'll mix that all up. I think you can't get enough greens in your diet, and moringa is one of the best ways to get your greens. It's the best way to get energy in the morning instead of the coffee or the tea. Like, nix all of that. And I mean, you can hide it in your smoothie. So pack that up with lots of fruits, lots of veggies. You can even make like frozen fruits, or put some like water, and you can actually put moringa powder in like ice cubes and freeze it if you want to do that, go that route, and just kind of slide it into your smoothie or into your shake.
So I have to ask you, what did you think about the taste?
You know what? I don't mind it. I know it's the smell that's a little bit pungent to some people, but if you mix in the right fruits and the veggies, you won't taste anything at all. So especially for kids that, you know, you try to get them to have a lot of their leafy greens and they just don't want to have it, or even some of your partners, if you try to get your partner to eat healthy. So I find it's like one of the best ways to slide it in through a smoothie or a shake, or you can even use it in a soup.
That's amazing, because honestly, when I first tried moringa, it has like an organic, rich type of taste, but sometimes, I don't know, it just wouldn't sit right with me. And so I finally figured out the right combination, which ended up being orange juice, surprisingly. So I love orange juice. Yeah, so I recognize that it just cuts through and it just coats, you know, any flavoring, and it's just orange juice in the morning. So I have that every single day and I feel energized.
Oh, that's a good combo, yeah.
So the next question was a pretty popular one. What are the best foods and beverages for weight loss?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions, and I find it's a very loaded question. So let's start with beverages. The best beverage you can have by far is water. Your body is made up between 60 to 70% of water, and most of us are actually dehydrated. And a lot of the time we fuel our bodies with coffee, tea, soda, a lot of beverages that actually dehydrate the body, which are called diuretics. So for us, you really want to have as much water as possible. And I'd say a rule of thumb just to start is at least 6 cups of water a day, and you could spread that throughout the day. In terms of food, I would say the best sources are clean protein. So if you are a meat eater, you definitely want to have like chicken or turkey, but I know there's a lot of vegan and vegetarian people that follow Greeniche, and we're part of, definitely promote the vegetarian and vegan diet. So I would say for sure, look at your legumes, like your chickpeas. For sure, you're gonna get your carbohydrates and your protein, so that's a really good bang for your buck. And then also you can look at carbohydrates, slow releasing carbohydrates. By far, one of my favorites would be brown rice, so it doesn't spike your insulin levels. So just be cautious when you're eating carbohydrates like breads, how much you're consuming, especially if it's rices, how much you're consuming. Even hummus is great for you, but in what amounts are you consuming? But I think all foods, when we talk about what foods or food groups should we eat, they should really be whole foods. That means really like the whole food. One ingredient, fresh raw veggies, fresh raw fruits, eating seasonally as much as possible. And a lot of people ask me, well, you know, what about if I just like cut out, you know, certain types of junk food? No junk food, none at all. Take out all the processed sugars, all the cereals, all the chips, all the candy. If you really want to get healthy, it starts with going back to the basics and eating just whole food.
You know, that's really great advice, because I guess sometimes I wonder if there's like a good time to eat these foods as well, and that's another popular question that a lot of us have had. What's your take on that?
So we talk about the rules of food combining. So I do believe in terms of times that you should eat food, especially for seasonality. So squashes and pumpkins are really popular in the fall, so we should eat those. A lot of warming foods, yam, squash, and it's probably in yoga as well when we talk about warming and cooling foods and what's right actually for your body type. Spring, summer, eating a lot of leafy fresh greens, fresh tomatoes, cucumbers. But then when we talk about food combining, proper food groups mix really well together, while others cause lots of gas, bloating, and indigestion. So when we talk about food combining, the number one rule I should say is eat fruit, and if you're gonna eat it alone, or if you're gonna eat it with another meal, have fruit first and then layer on your veggies and your protein and everything else. And actually in North America, I think in Canada, we do it quite opposite, where a lot of people eat the fruit after for dessert, and then they wonder why they have a tummy ache.
And our next question here comes from Toronto. And it says, how much water should I be drinking? And what are your thoughts on the raw water craze?
So I think everybody should be drinking, like I said, at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. If that's too much for you, I'd say 25 to 50% of your body weight. And the reason why I say that, everyone needs water, our bodies are made up of water. And it's funny because we know this, but instinctively we don't do it. For some other reason, we always reach for coffee or tea or something that has an added flavor on it. So if you don't just like plain water, you can add apple cider vinegar, you can add a little bit of moringa, although you may not like, it might be a little bit too potent, but you can add in as well Flavorol with Greeniche. You can add in other products with lemon. That also works really, really well. But I think just water on its own is great for you. And when it comes to this raw like craze around water, I think just if you can have water from like a natural spring or have water from like a filtered source, because there's a lot of chemicals that are in our tap water. And I think you can't go wrong with just you can't go wrong with having enough water in your diet. Mostly we walk around and we're really tired, we have lots of headaches, we feel heavy, we feel bloated, we feel gassy. Water is like the cure-all for everything. So I think you'll hear about this raw craze is because people are realizing that going back to the basics, again, going back to the spring water, going back to what people were doing centuries ago that actually healed them holistically.
So this was a really interesting question that we got. Are vitamins good for non-deficient people? I particularly like this question because I'm a vegetarian and I always used to find a struggle in finding a multivitamin or supplement to help support my health. And even though technically I'm healthy, I always take a multivitamin every single day to keep myself balanced and to keep my body healthy and to sustain itself. What are your takes?
So my thoughts for sure are, I think everyone should take at least a multivitamin. And I think the term, when we think of supplement, the word supplement, what does that mean? We're supplementing something that we're not necessarily getting in our diet. Or even if we are eating very clean or very healthy and doing the best to our ability, it doesn't mean we're actually absorbing and digesting all these vitamins and nutrients from our food. A lot of it actually gets lost in the digestive process. So I think everyone at a bare minimum should definitely take a multivitamin every day with your breakfast or your lunch, but it's something that I think we don't have enough of in our food and it gets lost. And I also think in terms of when people want to lose weight or they want to detox, they need to really rev up and put more minerals and vitamins into their body. Also, if you're working out really hard, you're losing a lot of electrolytes, you're losing a lot of essential vitamins and minerals. You're actually burning it through your sweat, which is great too. So I think definitely replenishing the body and looking at a supplement as just like something to boost you up, to make you feel a little bit better, to give you a little bit more energy, and just adding it on to your daily regimen.
Especially for women, something that I find that helps me is the Veg Iron Supplement. Because iron and anemia, like I feel, goes hand in hand, and that's something I've struggled with for so long, ever since I can remember. And so I always find having a good iron supplement that doesn't add in constipation or make you feel a little bit bloated, because that's probably a big issue as well, right?
For sure. For a lot of women, I mean, iron supplementation, there's ones that you definitely have to read the label because not all of them are vegan or vegetarian. And some of them have fillers too. They're not gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. And that's what's great about Greeniche product is they don't have any of the crap in it. So it's completely clean. And then definitely for women, I find a lot of the time we're really tired, and that's because of our low iron levels, and we don't realize that. So definitely adding on a little booster iron for sure for women is great. And then always your multivitamin.
And it's always better late than never. Like I find that when I was able to understand that, oh, okay, maybe it's an iron deficiency, it was already too late and I was already feeling tired at that point. So I guess if you just keep up with it every single day, then you won't have to feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people just reach for coffee, and the more tired they are, the more they just add on the coffee. But actually coffee and a lot of diuretics take away the natural vitamins and minerals that we have in our body. It deteriorates it. So that's why it's great to choose iron, to do your research, to find what vitamins you're actually deficient in and minerals. You can get a blood test for that as well. And you'd be surprised that just tweaking and adding a little bit into your diet and taking this every day over a few weeks, you'll feel completely different.
This is one of my favorite questions. Can anxiety be controlled through wellness practices?
Can anxiety be controlled through wellness practices? I think 1000% anxiety can be controlled. There's different things when it comes to wellness practices, but I think for sure when it comes to eating, we hear a lot of this term called mindfulness and mindful eating. So one of them is to assess the way you're eating. Do you eat in a really rushed state? Because that can cause more anxiety. Are there types of foods that you're eating that you're allergic to? Because that can bring on anxiety and depression and anger. Are there types of foods, especially sugar-laden processed foods, that make you feel more anxious? Do you notice that at certain times of the day that after you have a coffee at 2 p.m. to perk you up, do you feel more anxious again? So that's definitely, I think, food is a big problem and people don't pay attention to, that it can contribute to anxiety, to depression, to negative feelings. And again, if you're allergic to it and you keep consuming the same thing over and over and over again, you may elicit a negative response. So food, for sure, paying attention to your food and the way your body reacts to food is definitely something I feel can be a major correlation to anxiety. But also I think deep breathing exercises. So you as a yoga professional would definitely appreciate this a lot.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I think that taking the time to breathe, that diaphragmatic breathing is definitely important. A lot of us breathe up in our chest. We're very, very heavy breathers. We have a lot of stress.
Have our shoulders that are forward, yeah.
Exactly,
we don't roll
right?
It back.
Instead of rolling them back. I mean, a lot of the time we're trying to protect, and I get that, we're trying to protect our heart chakra. But at the same time, when our body is not aligned, it's harder for us to have proper circulation. So breathing, number one, especially when you feel that you're anxious, a lot of people naturally will try these diaphragmatic breathing techniques or the breathing in and out through the nostrils. I know that's a big practice in yoga as well. And I think another reason when it comes to anxiety and how to battle anxiety, exercise for sure. Fundamentally, everybody needs to do it at a minimum 3 to 5 times a week. And I don't mean going hard at the gym. I don't mean doing necessarily something in CrossFit. Even some more yin movements, yoga, I love yoga, Pilates, even walking for half an hour a day, getting your body, the blood flowing, getting that circulation moving around in your body. Being outside, even that makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah,
right?
just like small conscious actions. I've noticed that a lot of the times if we're working and we're at our day jobs, that we often forget to just get up and maybe, you know, walk around the office sometimes, or take a break and go outside and have lunch, or try something different and just change it up for your routine. The deep breathing definitely is something that helps me control myself and being able to understand when I have anxiety and when I am feeling anxious. But something I did want to share was about coffee, because I love coffee.
Me
that's
too.
something I can't, you know, get rid of every single day. But I noticed that as somebody who does experience anxiety, I didn't know how hand in hand coffee and your anxious state go. And so I didn't recognize that when I was having coffee right, you know, first thing in the morning, I was also accelerating my heart rate, and I was getting that anxious mind, or the monkey mind as we say in yoga, a lot faster, and I wasn't aware of it. Is that something that you find often?
For a lot of people, I think too, in times of stress, they'll reach to diuretics, which is definitely is coffee or nicotine, and their heart starts racing even more, their mind starts racing even more, they're not paying attention to what they're doing, but coffee is something that they can mindlessly drink and consume, and be done a few cups of coffee, not even realizing, you know, there could be added things in it like lots of milk and lots of sugar, or things that they didn't necessarily need in their coffee, but they just feel that they need it, they gravitate to it, and they may have this perception and also like a placebo effect that once I have my coffee,
then I'm okay.
Everything is better. And I notice that with a lot of people. It's like once I get to Timmy's and I have my coffee in the morning, and then I go to work, things are better.
Or I need my Starbucks and I can't start
Starbucks,
my day.
right? They need that fix. And that's not, I think when it comes to coffee, like you said, it really like jolts your body. And that's pretty scary to me, that the first thing in the morning when people wake up, so if you've been dehydrated, let's hope that you've been sleeping for 8 hours at least, your body is probably gonna need some water. But what do? In North America, we just pump it with coffee. But the first thing we should be doing is warm water and lemon in the morning to prime the pump, to get your digestive juices flowing, and hopefully you have your first bowel movement of the day. But with coffee, it actually constipates people, and it actually makes you more lethargic and more thirsty.
Yeah, because there's a crash that comes afterwards.
That's right.
Too,
There's always that crash too. So, I mean, you need to find the balance of both, because I like coffee. I'm a coffee drinker too. I don't think it's completely bad for you, but again, it's like, how many coffees do you have a day? Where does your coffee come from? Is it organic? Is it not? I mean, we can have a huge conversation just around coffee alone, but to be honest with you, I don't label foods like coffee as good or bad, everything in moderation. And I think too, it's like a lot of people don't realize that coffee does have antioxidants in it.
It is, yeah. So I've heard some positive things about that as well. I think it goes back to that mindfulness practices and just being aware of your intake of food and exactly what you're feeding your body and how much energy, good energy, you're allowing yourself to intake throughout the day. So there you have it, some of our top questions just based around nutrition, health, and wellness for daily living. So if you have any questions that you want answered by us, please leave a comment below in the section and let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know some subjects and topics that you want to know about, or some, burning questions that you have related to nutrition. Give us a shout. We look forward to hearing from you.